Hello, and welcome. I'm very happy to see all these people connected and interested to share this webinar today about the importance of the aerospace quality. And I'm really very happy to see all these people, the speakers and the audience joining this interesting opportunity. So thank you so much for this. What I would like to do first is to go through the reasons that I would like to share with you about this webinar. So the idea was we will not be able to cover all the aspects of the meaning and the importance of quality in the aerospace sector, but in some way we would like to start a path together and grow together in this webinar and in this topic. So the idea is to create an interactive session, to be all together, to collect your ideas, so to collect your experience and your impression. And so what I would like to ask you is to create an interactive session. So please be creative, let me say, be interactive, try to reach us and give us your experience. So what we would like to do is to have a session lasting 1 hour. This is the initial idea. So we plan to have a webinar of 1 hour, but we will be happy to go longer and to go over this 1 hour meeting should you be interested, if there are some interesting questions and so on and so on. So be flexible and please try to interact and to make questions. If during the intervention, you will see that it is worthwhile for you to intervene. In principle, we plan to have the question and answer session at the end of the webinar. But again, if you think it is worthwhile, please ask your questions. You can do this raising your hand using the emoticons, so raising your hand, or if you want, writing your questions in the chat. I would like to go now to the speakers and to present, let me say, our profiles in some way. So I'm very happy to moderate and be the presenter of this webinar today. I'm one of the members of the board of the Italian Association for the Culture of Quality in Aerospace. I'm very proud to open this section dedicated to the quality in the aeronautical sector. The Italian Association for Quality in the Aerospace sector is an association dedicated to the culture of quality, the culture of quality in aerospace, especially in this case. And the association is able to do that, organize some conferences like this one, publications, newsletters, seminars, and so on and so on. So I invite you to reach this association because it's really important for the growing culture in the aerospace sector. I wanted Mario Ferrante, who is the president of the Association for the Aerospace Sector, to be here, but there is an overlapping meeting with him. So in principle, it will try to reach maybe us at the end of the webinar. And in any case, I'm very happy to give my thanks on behalf of Mario Ferrante also. As you can see, my experience relates to the aerospace sector, almost 30 years of experience, mainly covering the international aerospace programs for the supply chain issues. And my main experience was related to the inclusions of new suppliers in the supply chain. So working together with the original equipment manufacturers and the tier 1 companies and suppliers. So that's my experience. Today, I'm very happy to be part of the team of ATLA. So I'm the business development manager for the aerospace sector. And I'm very proud to be one of the people of the team of ATLA, because this is especially consistent with the quality topic we are going to face today, because ATLA is a company that in all its aspects of its life is really interpreting in the best possible way the concept of quality. So I think that this is an important aspect, because for my understanding, quality is not only managing a system, applying the rules and regulations to the manufacturing aspect, to the purchasing aspect, and so on. But it's really living quality in every part of the life of the company. So I think that better than me, it will be Luca Gandini. Luca Gandini is the Chief Executive Officer of ATLA, and I think it will be really in a position to give the best possible overview of this company. Luca, if you are connected, I would like to give you the floor for this.
Yes, I'm connected. Thank you, Diana, for this introduction. Thank you to everybody that are participating to this webinar, to all the participants, to the speakers. And we are very proud to be the head of this webinar because the history of ATLA it makes sense in the way why the importance of quality, because we have to consider that ATLA is a company that now is 44, and till some years ago, the core business is out of aero market. And so we have the necessity to change the mentality in this way. And we think that through the right using of the quality method, first of all, NATCA, we create a sort of mentality in our company, very important. And now we think we are ready to go over, because we are moving from the gas turbine to the jet derivative, and now we are starting to work in aero market, even in civil market and the military market. But within this mentality deriving from quality, would be very difficult for us to be the opportunity to enter, to have the opportunity to enter in this market, because it's a fundamental quality as a fundamental key role in this, and without this using these rules, and I repeat that to having the right mentality is impossible to be part of the competition. And so we have reorganized the company in this way, and we are trying to have a different position in the market, because we are moving from let me say, from a special process company dedicated to only blades and vanes, to be ready to be a partner of an MRO in order to become a repair company. Now we have all the facility and the competence to, but I repeat, without the mentality of the quality, all the certification. Now we have all the process qualified by NATCA. We have ISO 9100, 110. Without all these steps, it's impossible to be part of this market. And so this webinar will explain better this concept, but it's only like a starting point. We hope to have the possibility in the future to go deep in the arguments, because we are very interested to be part of all that. So this is only my introduction. I think that we can go over with the speakers, I think, Diana.
Yeah, absolutely, Luca. Thank you so much. Thank you for these messages that you were giving, because again, you are demonstrating that quality is a mindset that is covering all the company in some way. So this is very important, and it is a strategic asset. I need to say that it comes very well the fact that we have been approved as an affiliate member of the International Aerospace Quality Group. So we are very proud of this. So this demonstrates that in some way we can, let me say, give this message and share these efforts for the quality with many other companies all over the world. So thank you so much, Luca. Thank you for that. Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Going to the other speakers, going to the keynote speakers of our webinar, I would like to give you a few words for each one of them. Just a technical message. If there is someone of you that has the microphone open or the video open, please be so kind to mute your microphone, and please to close your webcam. When you will be intervening and so on, absolutely, I will be happy to see your video. So thank you so much for that. Our speakers, our keynote speakers. So let me introduce you, Andrew Mayer. I'm very happy to do that because Andrew Mayer was my mentor when I started my activity in the aerospace sector many years ago. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Midlands Aerospace Alliance. Midlands Aerospace Alliance is one of the most important aerospace clusters in the world. And there are companies very important inside the cluster like Rolls-Royce, like Moog, like Meggitt, and so on and so on. And there is a network of small and medium enterprises, about 300 small and medium enterprises. And this means that Andrew can give us an interesting experience about what does it mean working with the supply chain, working with the big industries and the small and medium enterprises. He's an economist, so it's very important for us to know that he was professor at the University of London, Warwick, and Lille. And I hope he will give us an interesting overview about the possibility to match innovation and quality. As you can see, he's the architect of NATEP. NATEP is this important program dedicated to, let me say, innovation in some way, so to the exploitation of technology inside the aerospace program. So it will be very interesting to listen to Andrew Mayer's intervention. Stephen Molloy, he is the board member of GNP. GNP is a multinational quality service provider. His job profile is very interesting because he's a technical person with an interesting experience in Airbus, in Rolls-Royce, with an interesting experience in the supply chain. So very interesting to understand how quality can affect, let me say, the performance of the supply chain. Stephen had an interesting experience also in Torino. I think that a few years ago, for almost 2 or 3 years, will tell us afterwards, he was working in Microtecnica, so the Collins company today. So it's very interesting to see that he has an experience. He knows our network of companies. So again, it will be interesting to listen to his intervention. And then we have Christian Ferrari. Christian Ferrari is quality leader. It's quality manager inside AvioAero. Can you be so kind, please, to mute your microphone? There is someone of you with the Microsoft open. I'm very sorry, but otherwise it becomes difficult to go on with our conversation. So Christian, I was saying, is quality manager. As a quality manager in AvioAero, he will give us an interesting overview about quality in the aerospace sector. As you can see, he had important experiences, not only in AvioAero, but I would like to underline his presence and his participation to the main international aerospace consortium. So thank you, Christian, for your intervention. I need to say that I would like to start with you our brainstorming about quality, and I'm very passionate about this topic, and at the same time, I need to say that sometimes I am asking to myself, what is the real meaning and what should be the real interpretation of the word quality in aerospace? So I think that it is interesting to ponder and to reflect on the meaning of quality today in 2022, after this strange period blocking the aviation sector in a very terrible way. It's very interesting to understand what is quality from the investment point of view. So I was wondering whether we could match to the word quality, let me say, the meaning of an expensive and maybe useless burden for a company, maybe especially for small and medium enterprises. Maybe we can find an answer all together, seeing a video. So my proposal is to see together this video. And then I will ask you, and especially to our speakers, to react and to give us their reaction. I will start with the video. Please tell me if there is something with the audio that doesn't work. I will try to improve the technical aspect.
Frightening moments aboard an AirAsia X flight, the plane violently shaking mid-flight over the Indian Ocean. The Airbus A330, carrying over 350 passengers heading to Malaysia, was forced to return to Australia after engine trouble. About 90 minutes later, passengers say they heard a loud bang.
The captain said that one of the blades on the left engine was missing.
Passengers say the plane shuddered for nearly 2 hours. Many saying it felt like being inside a washing machine.
The plane was really leaping out, like it was shuddering.
Well, the whole plane was just going to go vomiting down.
The pilot telling passengers he was scared and asking them twice to pray.
Listen to everything. Survival depends on your property.
Some putting on a brave face, others fearing the worst.
There were lots of people crying, lots of people pulling out their life jackets and stuff, like pretty much preparing. Like we thought there was a good chance that we were going to go down.
Marine emergency services standing by for a water rescue. Passengers breathing a sigh of relief once the plane touched down safely. Before waiting hours for another flight. The low-cost airline is investigating what happened, calling the incident a technical issue, adding, the safety of our guests is our utmost priority.
So, the speaker said that the airline is investigating what happened, calling the incident a technical issue, adding the safety of our guests is our utmost priority. So that's an interesting statement, I would say. I think this is impressive for all of us. And the first thing that I would like to do is to ask to Christian, to Stephen, to Andrea, your first reactions. What about you, Christian? Christian, are you there? Are you connected? I could see you before. Maybe I understand that maybe you have a technical problem. So, Stephen, if you are connected, we can start with your first impression about this video. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Oh, I think Christian's about to get his sound back, actually.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can
We
hear
can
you.
hear you now. Yes, absolutely.
So I changed the device.
Okay,
That's the
no
problem.
problem. That's
Technical
perfect.
issues. Technical issues, not exactly the same over the aircraft. So
Okay.
I was saying good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, everybody. And it's really a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to speak about quality in the aviation. I feel I'm passionate for that because I'm passionate for my job. I'm working in the industry since 2001. So, but I don't want to talk about me and my company. Just going back to the video, I don't know if it was a problem with my connection, but it was not really able to appreciate the real washing machine that the passenger experience in that. You can play the video going in YouTube. It's public. It's really a new on the CNN. I can tell you what we saw is just something that none of us want to experience because those passengers flew a lot of minutes, I can say hours, like be in a washing machine. And they were at 1,000 meters of altitude. So remaining on the fact that what we saw a washing machine, people that one was not in panic, we saw technical issues, we saw people that was telling the story, people were crying, but at the end of the day, we saw people alive. We saw people alive. So telling a bad story, but survived. This is not something that we cannot neglect. This is what is linked to safety is first of is the most important topic for the airline, not only for the airline, for all of us. That's what we saw. And I think also we saw the pilot that was asking for cooperation, also asked to pray. And I cannot be strange for that. Imagine to be there. Imagine to have an issues. Imagine that you know that you need to fly 2 hours and you are 2 hours far from the first safe position. You are on an aircraft, 1,000 meters of altitude. If you have an issue, you cannot just park the plane in the first slot available, switch off the engine, and call the mechanics. It's not possible. You need to manage the emergency, you need to manage the panic on board, and you need to cross fingers that all the system survives and nothing happened more. At the end of the day, maybe we have also a room of improvement, and I will leave the ball to Stephen to add some comment on that. But what we saw is an engine with technical issues. Yes, it's a technical issue because something really was not functioning right. But the failure was not leading to any catastrophic event. The high vibration that we saw in the aircraft was shaking the aircraft, but the aircraft structure survived. And people trained on board, so all the crew was able to manage the situation. And so the end is just the people that is telling a bad story, but is telling a story. They are sharing emotion, but they are sharing, so they are alive. This is a mix of things that are a result of the experience, lesson learned, information that we put together to create our heritage, to build up regulations, especially for the authority, to build up knowledge for airlines, for engine OEM that are leading to an environment that is trying to preserve safety most. That is our goal. So going deeper, maybe we can analyze the real incident, but I will leave Stephen maybe to have some comment on that.
Okay, thank you, Christian. Stephen, what's your impression, your interpretation on that?
Well, it certainly would have been a very memorable experience, wouldn't it? To have been on an aircraft that is shaking for a couple of hours. And it's, as Christian said, it's very good that everything coped with the failure. So the engine did not behave as expected, nor did it shut down as expected. So the quality failure that led to the breaking of a blade also prevented the shutdown system from working properly, which is why the washing machine motion was so violent, but the system did cope. So there we see a good outcome, although a failure was experienced. And the aviation world for many years has been trying to improve quality, improve safety, but not necessarily having to. In the old days, they did it by crash investigation. Now we try to be more sophisticated about these things. So every failure is analysed from a design perspective, of course, but then you take it to manufacturing, and this is where quality comes in. So I'm going to assume in what I'm saying that the design intent was correct and that the things work as they should. but you don't get, or rather the design will work as intended and concentrate on what happens when things aren't built the way they're expected to be built. So my job over the years, 25 plus years, has mostly been design. I only moved into quality in 2017 when I left Rolls-Royce and moved to a smaller business. So most of my career has been spent looking at whether design intent will actually be delivered, and now I'm working in the manufacturing side. So it seems to me, as a relative newcomer to quality, I suppose, the quality is very rearward looking. Mostly, it looks at things that have happened, and you're always looking backwards. Now, lots of efforts have been made to not do that, to be more forward-looking, but it's very difficult to apply enough resources and effort to check everything forever. It's just not a practical way to operate. So we end up with a probabilistic argument, a probabilistic approach. We do the DFMEAs and PFMEAs. We look at design and process and see where things might fail. And what I have found going into quality is that most of the time people are looking at quality performance, quality data in a rearward-looking view. So what we're trying to do at the moment to improve that is we're looking at the supply chain as well as quality in a way that we are trying to be more predictive of which supplier is going to most likely produce a problem. And we're developing ways of stress testing the supply chain and interrogating the supply chain to produce a very data-driven set of information from which OEMs or tier ones can make decisions about their supply chain and look at the risk differently. Is that enough, Diana? Shall I stop there?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that with your first reaction to the video, in some way you were already giving us the general perspective that you have on quality in the supply chain, the performance, and the supplier. But we will come back again to this topic because it's very, very important. I would like to listen to Andrew's reaction to the video. So let me say a preliminary comment on what you have seen, and then we will go in the details afterward.
Thank you very much, Diana, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm interested really in following on from what Stephen said in terms of the manufacturing supply chain. The perception that we've had in the video is how the public sees, the flying public sees the aerospace industry. And we have a fantastic safety record, and we have a great record in terms of the investigative process that Stephen's talking about, looking backwards when there are issues, and an industry that other industries in the UK, the question is over the medical industry, could be learning from in terms of its willingness to improve quality, always in the interests of safety. I'm coming from the perspective of the smaller supply chain companies that we work with in our cluster, where paradoxically, they usually find that their customers are resistant to changes and often resistant to changes which could improve quality. So it's interesting, I think, that the public doesn't see that side of the industry that we're all familiar with. And we have great systems that have given us a very safe industry, but we're therefore also very conservative in the way that we think, and this is true in manufacturing. And I'll build on this later, but sometimes I think that, as we say in English, I don't know about Italian, that we have one hand tied behind our back, so that we're unable to address the quality problems with all the tools which could be available to us. So let me stop there, Diana, and hand back to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrew. So that's very clear, your initial point of view, so very useful. I would like to go a little bit in the details of quality. So let's try to deepen the topic. And the first thing that the first question that I would like to ask is to Christian. What is the definition of quality in aerospace? How would you define quality in aerospace?
Yeah. So if we have the additional 3 hours in front of us, we can answer to this question, I think.
I think that we need to try to
Yeah.
concentrate a bit, but we will be happy to organize another
Just,
webinar.
just joking. Frankly speaking, I tell you one thing I never told you before. I started to work in Avio Aereo, formerly was Fiat Aviazione at the time, in the engineering. So I cover the engineering aspect of the LP turbine. Then I have the chance to cover also the gearboxes of the engines. And then growing up, following the certification, working with the FAA, and so having different perspective. Then I move to the program management, and I saw my product from I was looking from a program perspective. I always was considering. È possibile mettere in mute chi non lo è? Grazie.
Grazie,
I was never thinking to work for quality. I was considering quality boring. I was considering quality a burden, like you mentioned it before. I was considering quality that it's something that that's now quality. So what they want from me, because I was the engineering, I was the program management. And now when I work in quality, I totally have a different perspective. I need to be humble to recognize which is the importance of the quality. So quality, if you define generally what it is, quality is a condition of something, could be an object, to be a service, to which we are giving our perception, our degree of satisfaction. We can both go to a restaurant and have a different perspective of quality of this restaurant. By the way, all of us are experts in restaurant in this period, I think, and everybody can argue on quality of the restaurants. But we never worked on the back of the restaurants. We don't know which are procedures, which are the challenges to have restaurants and to maintain a restaurant. So that is the general definition of the quality, and I think you cannot argue on that. But in aviation, we cannot be so much general. There is, in any case, a minimum level of quality that we need to consider, we need to embrace. And the minimum level of quality is also defined by EASA. EASA says, introduce the concept of acceptable level of safety. Acceptable level of safety is because quality in aviation is safety, is what is bringing back people when they fly. We say in G aviation, we lift people up and we bring them home safely. So takeoff and safe landing. Like we saw before, maybe bad experience, but safe landing. So the acceptable level of quality in aviation is what is guarantee the safety, no doubt on that. So going back on the video, everybody of us are making quality choices every day. And also most of us that we are here around this table are both working in the aviation and maybe also are customer of the aviation service. And sometimes if you really think about it, your mindset is a little bit different when we are a customer and we are producing something for the aviation. When we book a flight, we have now great websites in which plenty of filters. We want to and try to do this exercise, even if it seems very simple. So we book a flight, what we are going to find. We are going to select a service that is connecting departure and arrival. Then we are selecting the filters to say which is the most appropriate connection I would like to have, or which is the shortest connection I would like to have. Then we select the filter of cost. Yes, but I don't want to pay 3,000 euros to fly to Rome. Maybe I want to pay no more than 200. Okay. Then we can select the meal. We can have a selection of a vegetarian meal. We can select the seats to be in front of the window or in a hazel because I want to stretch my leg or I want to touch my head on the window. We have all of this selection. And based on this selection, we are giving the experience of the flight for us, something that is good. And we are associating a quality satisfaction for that. Nobody find the filter of safety. If you find a filter on the bottom that say, yes, you can have 50% of discount for this flight because you have a chance to take off and landing, yes, maybe not so accurate, or maybe it's not controlled landing. Do you want to select that one? No, you are giving for granted that this service is safe. So it's just a matter of emotion to look at the world from 10,000 maybe not, but from 1,000 feet of altitude, you can see Iceland, the sea. That is what we are finding. So we, in our head, when we are customer, we are giving the safety for granted. And we are working in this environment, we need to think about that. Every time that we are coming to the work, we are saying that what I'm doing right now, it's a matter of safety, it's preserving safety, because everything we are really doing every time to our normal job could have impact in safety.
Yeah.
Decision or not. So safety for 100% of safety is not possible, is unsustainable. It costs too much. We cannot afford, nobody can afford this. Industries, customers, but the acceptable level of safety that is guaranteeing this guarantee the safety of the people is a must. And safety is linked to airworthiness. And the airworthiness is the base of our regulatory framework. The airworthiness definition from AICQ is the legal and mechanical condition for a flight suitable for flight. Legal and mechanical. There are a lot of things around those two words. But this is meaning that there is people behind that service that design, tested, manufactured, overhauled the parts, the plane, the aircraft with criteria seriously, and again, standards and quality, high level of quality standards. And this is the base of the regulatory requirement that has been improved every time, every year, based on the lesson learned, incident, event, new technology that are also pushing the market to find a different solution. We have in front of us the clean aviation, and the market will ask for cleaner flights. We have in front of us different possibility to move. For instance, more electrical aircraft or taxis, what is called the urban mobility without any pilot, for instance. We need to be prepared for that, but we need to have the common ground that is everything we are doing that should be sustainable for long period, because that is the life of an aeronautical product for long period, and sustainable also for safety point of view. Maybe I told too much, but.
Oh, that's okay, Christian. That's okay. I think that your quite long intervention could be summarized as quality, in some ways, the equivalent of safe. And safe, it is something that we cannot take for granted. So we need to ponder on that, and we need to applicate this concept inside our companies. But I would like to go to Stephen, because in some way, I would like to go deeper in the concept of quality inside the supply chain. I must be very honest, this is a topic that is very interesting for me because in some way we are a supplying company to the original equipment manufacturer. So, you know, it's very interesting to understand how it's possible to guarantee quality when you manage a supply chain of suppliers relating to their customers, relating to the airlines, and so on. Can you help us in this, Stephen?
Yes, thank you. Well, quality, yes, quality has many facets to it. So safety is a primary measure, but it's not the only one. And Christian described the customer experience on we select the food or where we sit on the window. I mean, there's another aspect of quality that the customer will see. And in the supply chain, we have to make much more practical decisions around quality. Safety is taken for granted. Absolutely. It is the number one hygiene factor. We have to do that. But the parts also need to last as long as they're in design intent. So when we set the price of something, we don't want to have to supply two that get swapped out very quickly. So in the supply chain, how can we take a bet, if you like? How can we allow ourselves to produce quality that is commercially viable, that is acceptable to the authorities, that is practical within the manufacturing facility we have? And so quality becomes a lot more difficult. It becomes a lot more sophisticated, and this is why it's seen as the enemy of production sometimes, that you're slowing down people shipping and slowing down the production of parts. So as I touched on earlier, what we have tried to do is to take not just the part in isolation or the part in an assembly. We try to look at who made it and who provided the raw material. And this is normal. This is normal practice. I mean, everyone does that. That's material science and machining and heat treatment and so on to take a metallic part, but also to look at what are the finances of that company like? Are they likely to be taking any shortcuts? If you double the orders next year, can their sub-tier plating manufacturer cope with what you've just put on them? So the more you look at quality, the more sophisticated it must inevitably become, and that's where, and the supply chain gets the worst of that. The OEM will not pay more. They're usually giving price pressure, but labor rates and all the other parts are going up. The costs are rising for the SME, the body of people who are in this organization, if it's like the MAA in the UK that Andrew is CEO of, is that squeezed middle. So yes, quality is a very interesting and intricate business, I have found, since I've been in it for the last 5 years, after 25 years designing. And we are trying to add more sophisticated tools to how we watch for whichever company is, or component or incident is going to come galloping over the hill towards us, because it's very difficult to predict that if you're looking backwards. Not sure where I want to go with that. I'm going to let Andrew have a turn, I think.
Yeah,
back to you, Deanna.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you so much, Stephen. Absolutely, it's time to listen to Andrew's perception about this aspect. And I would like to add one question for you, Andrew, because again, this is an interesting topic for me. I would like to understand if it is a possible marriage between quality and innovation. The aerospace industry is always looking for innovation, disruptive technologies, and so on and so on. But maybe at the end of the story, quality could stop this passion for innovation, for technological advancement, and so on. Is it possible to have a possible marriage between these two aspects? Maybe in your experience with the big industries and small and medium enterprises, you have an answer.
Thanks, Diana, for asking that important question. And you're right, I'm very interested in this interaction between quality and regulation and safety more generally, not just our quality management systems, and innovation and technology, because on the one hand, we have the engineering community wishing to introduce new technology and to innovate correctly. And on the other hand, we have our procurement departments who often don't want to countenance any change whatsoever. And therefore we have an interesting phenomenon in aerospace where a culture of continuous improvement, which in other industries is what you would use to develop better quality, is very difficult to implement. So it's big steps which are taken often with difficulty in big aircraft programs and engine programs that are running late, and the drawings get to the suppliers late. And they make the first parts like they made the parts 20 years ago because that's what they know how to do. So we don't even take the big steps forward when we have the opportunities in product change only. And this is what it often looks like from the small company viewpoint. Small companies similarly are being driven to reduce their prices by the procurement department. And they will tell procurement that we could easily increase our productivity if we could make a simple change in our production process. But the customer says that it has no engineers available to institute the change control process. And that therefore the innovation is sitting in front of everybody for years and nobody can implement it. And I think sometimes worse than that, we then try to put our hands around the neck of the problem and squeeze it even harder to introduce a zero defect system. And yet we have our issues with what we call concessions, where parts haven't been made properly and they have to be inspected because they're going to be accepted, even though they are on the border of the design limitations. And these are all signs that we have challenges in the industry, it seems to me. We rightly end up being very conservative, and clearly that's the correct route to go down if we have the choice. But we still suffer, it seems to me, from probably the way that we certify our products in the first place, in whole aircraft and whole engines very often, making it very difficult for those who have proposals to introduce change to do that, and a whole set of barriers. What we are interested in the work that we do is helping small companies with innovative ideas, to introduce those, sort of bottom-up approach to innovation. And this big culture that I'm talking about means that we might be talking to a small supply chain company, and they will literally tell us we are not innovative, the customer doesn't want us to innovate, they only want repeatability, we never introduce new technology because we are a make-to-print supplier. And yet we want these companies from an economic viewpoint to improve their products, to be innovative, to compete with low-cost countries by being innovative for their customers. So that's the challenge in a nutshell that we often see from the sort of innovation in the supply chain perspective, that the system that we have that connects certification, quality and safety becomes a barrier to innovation. And as I said, to conclude, worse than that, because our new product introduction processes are so difficult sometimes, even the chances that we get to improve our processes, to introduce higher quality systems, we often miss because the money has been spent, the time has been spent, and all used up in the early stages of engineering. And when it comes to industrialization, that is undertaken very hurriedly. And so I'm wondering whether we shoot ourselves in the foot, as we would say, with some of our own systems, including our potential opportunities to improve quality from a continuous improvement viewpoint by the other management systems that surround that. So perhaps a little provocative, I know, and I'm certainly not suggesting that we change our standards at all, but and I don't have any answers to this, but this is an observation that we have, and from the viewpoint of other industries, the aerospace does seem to be a strange beast in its focus on its obsessions with repeatability, because it really hasn't managed to find the systems that would allow for quality to be improved systematically as part of its management processes. So let me finish there, Diana, and hand back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. If I may underline one aspect, one contradiction, is the fact that there are a lot of funds for projects dedicated to research and development to encourage especially the small and medium enterprises to be innovative, because being innovative, they become competitive. But at the same time, when they do invest their efforts in this, they are in a situation where the innovation cannot go in the supply chain. In some way, this is astonishing to me.
This is what I'm saying, and you know, the quality systems aren't at fault here, but there's something about how all of our different management systems interact with each other that becomes dysfunctional from certain perspectives. That's what I observe.
Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Since I'm trying to monitor the time, and I would like to leave the floor maybe to some questions, because I think that your interventions, your comments could generate some reactions. So I would like to ask to the audience if there are some questions. So please either raise your hand, open your Microsoft, write a message. We are ready to listen to your questions if there are questions. Just let me see. Christian, you raise your hand.
Oh, yes. In the case that we are breaking the ice with question, I will just add something with Andrew comments. So we are currently living in aero and aviation the battle between innovation and quality, especially regulatory point of view. Because if you just navigate in LinkedIn, you can see that our engineering is really deeply involved in the new technology, especially the green field, the green side, additive manufacturing. So we are trying really to invent the next engine for the future. What is really helping also us in that path? I know that I'm telling something that is very simple, but is think to swap the places. So the industry should try to be in the foot of the authority and vice versa. Because when the authority of the quality says no, it's not because says no because they don't have any other answer. It's they says no because there is a reason behind. So if the industry is able to help the authority to give the answer to the no, that is really attending a question, at the end of the day, the marriage will start. But it's not easy sometimes to switch the position because industry is pushing for fast, for now, for something that is quick, and the authority need to ponderate. Also, Stephen already mentioned it, and Brandon as well, need to ponderate if the new things are really fulfilling the requirement for safety. And if the industry may have that, really, it's my personal experience inside of your area. We are fighting for that. But it's really helping in any kind of job when you switch position, swap the point of view, trying to be in the foot of the other one, and things are going a little bit faster.
My experience is if an innovation is rejected, it's usually because it's unknown how to assess it. how to benchmark it against the past, how to assimilate it into the new machine or accommodate it in some way. It's either unknown or it's too expensive to do it. It doesn't make commercial sense. It's probably actually as much, even more maybe the common reason for innovation being rejected.
Okay.
Particularly when you look at changes to process and so on, small ones, continuous improvement, recertification for a new machine or something, it just gets refused, which is unfortunate.
Just let me ask one question to you, Andrew, Christian, and Stephen all together. There is a link between quality in a company and the lean manufacturing system, which is the connection. The lean manufacturing system is something that is, let me say, covering all our life when we do manufacturing, when we produce, when we approach our clients. Which is the link between quality and the lean manufacturing system? Who is going to give me an answer?
Well, let me make a start, Diana. This is what I mean, I think, about the culture of continuous improvement. When I started my working life, I was working as a student of Honda, the automotive company, where the route to quality was lean. So lean and continuous improvement gave you not only productivity, but also quality. And that's what I mean about being built into the management systems. And for the reasons that Stephen just suggested, rightly describing the problem, we have a problem with that, and it means that we therefore, it's the certification question. I suspect it's how we certify in the first place that doesn't allow for change to be made. It's a bit like we used to design aircraft, without modules that can be replaced and upgraded and improved in their avionics systems, for example. And now we sometimes design in the opportunity to change modules. So that kind of different perception of certification may be at the root of this. I'm not sure, but I think many of our supply chain companies that work in other sectors, where possibly that is the final issue, find that they're able to make these changes in other sectors and introduce modern machining methods, for example, but in their aerospace lines, they're not. And I think my main point is that gives you, paradoxically, even bigger quality problems. Not the system, but it just creates quality problems and issues, leading to concessions and leading to waste, leading to parts that are made that can't be used and so on, because there's something where we're not prioritizing or we don't think it's commercially viable, those kind of changes.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you so much.
I will answer shortly, giving you a pictures. So if I think about lean and quality, and I think about a person, the quality is the DNA of the person. The lean is the style of the person. So quality is the DNA. Everything is the DNA in terms of decision, and how we improve decision in the style that he applied to that is the lean.
Yeah, that's very clear, Christian. Thank you so much. Just let me give the floor to one person in the audience. I see one hand raised. The name that I can read is Levi Silvestrini. If you want to ask your questions, we shall be happy to listen to you. You open your Microsoft and you open your video.
Thank you, Diana. I don't have a video in this equipment.
Okay, no problem. That's okay.
So good afternoon. My name is Levi. I work for Embraer in Brazil. So I have a question in line with innovation. So we see in aviation that systems are getting more and more integrated with each other and dependent with each other. So I would like to know, how do you see that in terms of quality, if this plays in favor or against quality KPIs and quality outcome of what we see coming from factories, and if that could be, let's say, an opportunity to have a more proactive, more productive way of leading with quality, maybe through big data, I don't know, or something in this line. So I would like to know what's your vision in this sense. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Who wants to answer? That's a very interesting question. Thank you.
So I will try. Levy, did you say, is there an opportunity for big data to be used to drive quality in manufacturing? Did I understand that correctly?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. So it seems a very, I mean, we have more and more data around us, and we are trying very hard in my business to use that data to look rearwards a little, which is statistical process control type, see what's coming off, make sure things are within the tram lines, you get an idea of drift. And that's an old-fashioned idea, but it works. But with the IoT and Industry 4.0 and better data coming off machines, it must be that data can be used to make sure that processes produce quality and you never have to inspect. It must be that's how it goes. It should be the whole purpose of it. So I'd be very disappointed if we don't manage to use big data to vastly improve the handovers between machines, the outputs from them, and that production really should be far better controlled as it goes through the process. It really ought to be that nobody needs to inspect anything at the end. And that, going back to Andrew's point, that's the Honda and Toyota way as well, that the whole process intrinsically produces perfection. And there are no return loops and no stoppages.
Andrew and Christian, do you have something to add to Stephen's point of view?
Yes, I have one, because this topic was part of a discussion of the EASA and FAA safety conference held in Washington a couple of weeks ago. I was part of that. Big data is, I mean, we are in digital era, so it's easy to produce data. And big data is a flow of information that could be very huge. The fundamental problem is how we are able to give a meaning of this huge amount of information, which are the processes that we are following for that. And sometimes, I mean, what I heard also about from industries was Amazon. One director from the Amazon leading this call is really difficult and also is driving a lot of cost. We are still not really prepared to elaborate many data, but as Stephen was saying, we cannot neglect to take decision from the data. So I would say that will be some maturation timing for that. The impulse is to go in that direction. The balance is to the issue is to find a balance between the cost and the efficiency to take those decisions. Don't want to move too much the discussion, but associated to that, that was huge discussion about the safety management system. That is another things that is pretty predominant this year and next year, at least for people that are working in the EASA environment, because it will be a law applied and already existing. And that is a new style to manage the business. And this is from the risk-based assumption. Risk-based assumption cannot be separated from data elaboration. So we'll see. I think we will see a speed up in that direction in the next month, coming from the industry that will be asked to find a balance between a good management of the business based on the safety indicators according to safety management system, and the data, big data, or whatever you want to say, that is able to collect and analyze and digest.
So just one comment, if I can add, and by the way, before I do that, Christian, how much I appreciated the way you described quality as the responsibility of the individual. That's exactly how we have to work in reality, because we're working in imperfect systems, and then we rely on the human being, quite rightly in our industry, to be the responsible person. And the human being has to work in difficult circumstances sometimes and make the right decisions. And we rely on their integrity, and the whole industry relies on their integrity. Big data, yes and no. I think big data for a company like Rolls-Royce with sensors in the engines and able to monitor engine performance as the engines fly across the Atlantic, built into the systems, absolutely. Our small companies struggle with legacy machines which have no sensors and produce no data. And they struggle even with extracting data from systems built by Siemens, because all the controllers have different software and hardware in them, and Siemens won't share the data with them. So, I mean, it really is a struggle. And then when we look at the opportunities for statistical process control, for example, with our often small quantities. So I think, yes, some areas, yes, some areas still we have issues where the theory of big data and the analytical instruments are good, but the data itself may be missing.
Okay, excellent, thank you. I don't know if there are other questions from the audience, so please feel free to open your Microsoft, sorry, and ask your question. Otherwise, I promised to one of our followers in LinkedIn to answer to one question that personally I consider very, very interesting. The question was, which are the parallels and the differences in the application of EASA and ISO 9100? For many companies, this is often a challenging issue, whether to get one of these approvals if you already apply the other. So that's really very interesting for me. It's a topic that in some way is touching the life of all the companies dealing in the aerospace sector, maybe especially in the aero engine sector. So I would like you, please, to give an answer to this person that was so, let me say, so ready to do the right question. Which one is going to start? Maybe you, Christian, first?
Yeah. So those are two different regulatory requirements, let me say. So 9100 is voluntary certification, like EASA certification is really not voluntary, but is driven also from what you need to deliver to the market. And that is leading me to the airworthiness definition that was mentioned before. So based on which is your need or which is your market, you need to be certified with EASA. So if you have a product that needs to be delivered to the service and is a brand new product, you must be certified Part 21G. If you are an overall plant that needs to overhaul and provide to the final end customer the parts already overhauled, you must be certified Part 145. Obviously, what I'm telling is valid for European, but because you cut and paste the same discussion for all the other authorities, because you need to deliver a certificate of airworthiness with the part that you are releasing into service. And here, if you have a part that has been designed and you need to certify your design, you need to have the certification of design organization approval. If you don't need that and you are not linked directly to the market, it's not really mandatory. It's welcome from an OEM that you are linked to, like a supplier, that you have a certification 9100. Because in that case, there is some agency that is certifying that you have certain standards, certain quality system, and the product that you are delivering is respecting that. And so they will use the certificate of conformity to cover with their privilege to issue the airworthiness certification.
Okay, so from my understanding, this is more an issue, a strategical issue, more from the commercial point of view, from the market point of view. I mean, it is true, you are right. One company is free to decide whether to have or not to have one of these approvals, but at the end of the story, this makes the difference in the clients that you can reach, in the markets that you can penetrate. I don't know, Andrew, if this is the experience that you could see in your companies.
Well, we deal mostly with smaller manufacturing companies, so it's about their quality management systems, companies without design approval that would require EASA approval, for example. And there we have, just like the automotive people introduced QS 9000 to develop ISO 9000, we've got an aerospace version, of course, AS 9100 that Christian's mentioned, which is similar in principle. And this clearly is a tool, a very good tool to help companies understand the kind of systems they need to have in place for aerospace. Sometimes we deal with companies in our organization which are trying to enter the aerospace industry, and you know, they believe this is the aerospace quality standard. It's true that it may be a requirement, but it certainly won't give you new business by itself, and I think that's something we all need to recognize. However, a company which it plans to invest in entering or growing its aerospace markets needs to prove to its customers that it has the patience and the deep pockets financially and the will to do all the difficult things required to enter aerospace. And sometimes going through the AS 9100 process is part of that. The other difference I would say is with particular technology qualifications like NADCAP, where it's clear that it's simply a requirement, however expensive it is, and there's a difference there depending upon what special processes that you may have in place, and there's no choice.
Yeah, that's very clear, Andrew. So I would say, since it is 5:10, I would suggest maybe to go towards the closing of our session, knowing that this is the first meeting, the first webinar that we are dedicating to quality in the aeronautical sector. So you have the possibility to continue to keep in touch with us. Just let me share with you the slides that I wanted to use for this session. And that's our invitation. So we do not end our exploration here. We will be organizing some other meetings, some other webinars, or maybe in-presence meetings. For sure, we will find some new interpretation of this topic. So we will continue to face this problem and to find the new ideas and new solutions. But at the same time, we would be very happy if you can send us some suggestions, if there are some questions that you would like to ask to us or to use as a new topic for other webinars. So my invitation, the invitation of the Aerospace Association for Quality, for the culture of quality, is really to start an interactive relationship among all the people interested in this topic. We are always open to new inputs. We are always open to support companies, and for supporting companies, it's very important to know you, to know your interest, and to know your concerns. So let's go on together in this way. As ATLA, as the business development manager for the aerospace sector in ATLA, I need to tell you that we are very open to share experiences and best practices. As I said at the beginning, we are passionate about this topic, and we use this concept in every aspect of our life. So we will be happy in the next session maybe to share our experience and to give you a best practice of how we use this quality topic in our life. For sure, you can do the same. All the companies willing to bring an experience and to share their experience with other companies, please tell me, contact me, try to reach me, and I will be happy to build with you maybe the next webinar that we will organize together. That's all I would say. I would like to thank you so much for your attention. Let's keep in touch. I hope to meet you in Farnborough next week. I will be very happy maybe to continue this discussion if you will be taking part of the Farnborough Air Show. So again, please contact me. You have all my contacts in the slides. It's very easy to reach me also via LinkedIn and in the website of ATLA. And so let's go on in this way. So I would like to thank Christian Ferrari. I would like to thank Stephen Monloy, Andrew Mayer. Thank you so much for being with us. I hope to rely on you even in the future opportunities, in the future occasion that we will be organizing. And that's all. I would say that I would like to leave you with the video of AICQ, of the Italian Association of the Culture of Quality in Aerospace. And again, please contact us for any kind of questions and inquiry. Thank you so much for your attention, and we will meet in the next meeting dedicated to quality in the aerospace. See you very soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Diana. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for inviting us. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody. Goodbye.
Hey, Diana, can you hear me still?
Yes, if you can just wait a few seconds, Andrew, I'm coming back to you.
Okay.